What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are actually going to cover the Judas Contract. The Judas Contract is apparently the best Teen Titans story of all time. Like, literally, if you ask any Teen Titan fan out there, they're gonna tell you about the Judas Contract in some kind of way as the best story of all time for the Teen Titans, or the top 3 stories of all time for the Teen Titans. Now, when it comes to the Judas Contract, we already have a movie out there that DC made for us, an animated movie, which honestly was just okay. But when it comes to the Judas Contract, it is technically Deathstroke right now getting revenge against the Teen Titans. And we'll learn more why he's actually trying to do that. Now, if you ever do pick this book up and you're wondering why in the world they're calling Deathstroke the Terminator, because that was actually his original name until later on it was actually changed over to Deathstroke. Either way though, this is the book where we do see Deathstroke trying to get revenge against the Teen Titans, but at the same time, we do learn the origin of Deathstroke. Now, this is also the book where we see the death of Tara. Now, guys, we all know Tara is a Teen Titan character that got really popular in the TV show as well. And technically, when she died in the TV show back in 2005, it was a very huge episode. But this is where that TV show got the idea from, the character, but also her death. This was a very crucial moment in the lives of the Teen Titans. So let's go ahead and dive into this book. And so getting into today's storyline, we actually do pick up right now with some members of the Teen Titans. Now we do pick up with Starfire, Dick Grayson, Donna Troy, Beast Boy, and Tara. Tara at this point was technically on the Teen Titans. Now, in the opening pages of this book, we actually pick up right now with Starfire doing a photo shoot, because Donna Troy is actually a photographer at this moment in time in DC Comics. And so right now you have Donna Troy just taking some photos of Starfire as a way to kind of build up her portfolio. Now, of course, while you have the Titans actually hanging out, someone does take a picture of them. A small quick picture just like that. And it seems like someone is gathering information about the daily lives of the Teen Titans as a way to actually use it against them down the road. Now, after the photo shoot, you do have the Titans actually go back over to the home of Donna Troy. Now, this is going to be the trend of the first chapter of this book, where you technically have the Titans just living their daily lives, minding their business, having fun, but someone out there is actually watching them. Because when we jump back over to Donna Troy and the other Titans right now at her apartment, they get the chance to relax. And matter of fact, they get the chance to talk about her wedding and talk to her fiance, Terry Long. But of course, while the Titans are hanging out, that is the moment you have someone again take a photo of them. Real quick photo, bam, just like that. Again, someone is gathering information about the Titans. Now, something else I do want to mention is Dick Grayson right now no longer calling himself Robin. By this point in DC Comics, you really did have the moment where Dick Grayson is trying to retire the name Robin and think of something new for himself. Now, this was also DC trying to bring in Jason Todd down the road as a new Robin in Batman Comics. Either way, right after Beast Boy and also Tara say goodbye to Dick Grayson at his apartment, someone else again gets a photo of Dick Grayson going into his home, now knowing where he lives. Now, after that, you do have Beast Boy and Tara go on a walk. Now, when the two characters actually go on a walk, it's really more of Beast Boy trying his best to get into a relationship with Tara. Just like in the TV show, he truly cares for the character a lot. But unfortunately, when it comes to Tara, it really seems like right now she's on guard, that she's technically scared to let Beast Boy in. Now, technically, we know why she's doing this all for, because this is a very old story. Either way, when the two characters are walking around, they do walk in a Cyborg. And right now you have Cyborg just hanging out with some woman that he cares for at this moment in DC Comics. And of course, she took him to go ice skating, and Cyborg is not that great when it comes to ice skating. And matter of fact, he does fall down right in front of a crowd of people. Now after that, you do have Beast Boy, Cyborg, and also Tara go over to the apartment of Cyborg. Now that is the moment where you have Cyborg realize that he has mail. And of course the mail came from his grandparents. And this section is really more saying, listen guys, when it comes to Cyborg's grandparents, they're technically not that great. They're really bad. And unfortunately, Cyborg is not ready to actually meet his grandparents when they come in town to actually see him very soon. Now with that being said, while you have Cyborg, Beast Boy, and Tara hanging out, someone again does get a photo of Cyborg in his apartment, basically getting more information about each member of the Teen Titans. Now, right after that, you do have Beast Boy and also Tara head over to Titan Tower. Now, on the way there, of course, that is the moment they do share a kiss. Now, for Beast Boy, this is one of the greatest moments of all time, because now it seems like he may be able to have a girlfriend, but at the same time, we know that is not true, that technically Tara is right now using him. And right here in this section, we get more proof of that, because right after the kiss, you have Beast Boy fly away in one of his animal forms, very excited about the idea he got a kiss. Now, of course, our mysterious character does get another photo, but not of Tara, but actually of Beast Boy. And that can tell you that technically she is not good. She's up to something right now. And the question is, what? Now, once you have Tara be able to actually go back to Titan Tower, she does go inside, where of course she goes and finds Raven. Now, at this moment in DC Comics, Raven is technically not depowered, it's just that her powers are not working properly. Now, when it comes to Tara, she really does hate Raven a lot, and it shows right here. Now, you also have Raven says she realized that something is wrong with Tara. She feels a lot of corruption coming from Tara, which means that Raven realized that Tara could be a bad guy or something even worse down the road. Either way, once you have Tara leave, you have Tara say, okay, you know what? I have to make sure to get rid of her first, because if I don't, she could become a huge problem down the road later on when it comes to my master plan. And then once again, someone is able to get a photo of Raven as well, but not Tara. And so that is another example saying those two characters are technically right now up to something. Our mysterious photographer and also Tara as well. Now after that, you do have the Titans come to Titan Tower the next day to basically do some training. Now Cyborg is first, and right now you have Cyborg trying to lift a whole lot of weight. The problem is though, he has reached his limit, and with him reaching his limit, he has to stop. The problem is though, Cyborg does not want to stop. And the reason why, because Cyborg says, when I was just a regular guy, I was able to push beyond my limit. Unfortunately, now I'm a cyborg, and my machine side is holding me back because my machine side is afraid to let me cut loose, afraid to try to push me beyond my limit. And so right now, it's just Cyborg saying, I hate my machine body. Now the next training session is going to be Donna Troy fighting against Starfire. Now when it comes to this training session, it's actually very intense between the two characters because these two characters are powerhouses. Unfortunately though, that is how most of the training session goes when it comes to these two ladies. Now while you have the two ladies right now fighting against one another in this training session, they're also being watched by our mysterious photographer. And we have no idea who the person is right now who's right now taking photos of our heroes. Now right now our heroes, they don't realize that somebody is actually watching them very, very closely. Either way, getting back into the battle between Donna Troy and Starfire, like I said, it does go on for a few pages, but it does end with Starfire actually winning. Now, right after that, it's now time for Beast Boy and also Terra to begin their training. Raven is not going to get any training at all because at this moment, her powers are technically not working properly. Now, this is the section where you could technically say that something is up with Terra. And the reason why I'm saying that because while you have Terra and Beast Boy about to get ready for their match, their training match, well, while the training is going on, Beast Boy is actually able to overcome the powers of Terra by just transforming into different animals left and right. But of course, when it comes to Beast Boy, he is a jokester. And so with him basically right now just showing off and being able to overcome her powers, he's actually taunting her. Now here comes the problem though, because with him basically taunting her, she goes a tad bit crazy, a tad bit too far, to the point where she does use her powers and she almost kills off Beast Boy. Now luckily she did not. But when the other Teen Titans realize what just happened, they begin to question her. And she says, "You have to realize, when you guys found me, I was being held a hostage by those men. And they all did horrible things to me left and right. And so unfortunately, when it came to Beast Boy taunting me, it just reminded me of that past. I'm sorry he got hurt." But in reality, it was technically just Terra being Terra. And you see what I mean as we go through this book, especially by the end of the book, the last chapter, where we kind of understand how the character actually works, how the character mind actually works. Now the next section really does show us who is the bad guy of the book. And of course, the bad guy of the book is Deathstroke, Slade Wilson. But let's not forget, at this point in DC Comics, he was calling himself the Terminator. Now, the reason why he's the main bad guy of the book is because he's right now working for Hive. And Hive is just one of those evil organizations out there in DC Comics, and usually they have run-ins with the Titans. Either way right now, Deathstroke is actually working for them, and the reason why? To complete the contract his son couldn't finish, because his son Grant, who was also known as the original Ravager, went after the Titans because Hive asked him to. The problem was though, Ravager died, and of course his mission was not completed. And so right now you have Slade saying, "I am going to complete the mission my son tried to complete. And on top of that too, I'm going to get revenge against the ones who were technically involved in the death of my son." And so that is why he's working for Hive. Now, on top of that, we also do have a very inappropriate relationship in this book where it's Deathstroke dating a 15-year-old Terra, because we also come to find out that Terra is a bad guy as well. Now you do have Terra and Deathstroke leaving to go to somewhere else. And of course, that is the moment we also introduced to Wintergreen. And Wintergreen is actually a close friend of Slade Wilson, and we're going to learn more why those two characters are actually close friends. But right after you have Slade, Wintergreen, and also Terra leave their old base to go somewhere new, we kind of find out someone else is actually watching Deathstroke, and unfortunately they're very sad with the idea that he has gotten soft, or basically he's losing his touch as a mercenary. And so when we jump into the second chapter, we actually do pick up right now with Dick Grayson at home, minding his business and thinking, yeah, you know what, this is going to be a normal day. Except that is the moment he's actually confronted by Deathstroke. Now, this is actually very huge. And the reason why, because Dick Grayson knows that there's no way possible that Deathstroke should know who he is, because Deathstroke has been fighting against the Titans for many years. But the thing is, he has no idea what their true identities are. But because what we saw at the end of the last chapter, or in the last chapter, Deathstroke learned everything about the Teen Titans, meaning that he now knows that Dick Grayson used to be Robin, that Dick Grayson is part of the Teen Titans. And so, of course, with Deathstroke being here, it just makes sense. Like, hey, here's Deathstroke and he's here to get you, Dick Grayson. Now, the way the fight goes on, it's not a fair battle for Dick Grayson at all, because Deathstroke is a well-trained fighter, but at the same time, he is technically a super soldier, and so he is very enhanced. He's able to get one over on Dick Grayson. Now, with that being said, while the two characters are actually fighting against one another, you do have Deathstroke mentioned in a way that basically Dick Grayson is the last person to be captured, meaning that the rest of the Teen Titans have already been captured. Now, this could mean a lot of different things, meaning why Dick Grayson is the last one. It could mean that the reason why Dick's the last one because Deathstroke feels like Dick Grayson is the weakest person because he has no powers. But at the same time, it's Deathstroke saying, no, I saved the best for last because you are the team leader. Either way, though, you do have Dick Grayson being able to get away from Deathstroke by hiding in a crowd in the middle of the park. Now, with that being said, while you have the two characters fighting against one another, somebody, really two people, were watching their battle. And of course, we do learn the name of one of the two people, the boy, and his name is Joseph. And that right there is going to be important for the rest of the story. But we'll find out what the female name is in the later on section of this book. Now, once Dick Grayson is able to kind of gather himself and realize what Deathstroke truly said, meaning like, hey, listen, you're the last one. I was able to get the rest of the Teen Titans. You have Dick Grayson not believe that. He believes the rest of the Titans are actually okay. Now, at first, he does try to call up the Titans. Of course, no one answers because they already been captured by Deathstroke. But unfortunately, you have Dick Grayson take that and say, no, I need to see actual proof the Titans have been captured. And so he does go to different places where the Titans actually live. He goes to all their homes and see each and every single one of them has been captured. And then he finds clues to tell him what exactly happened to them and how they were able to be captured by Deathstroke. Because when it comes to the rest of the Titans, they are very strong. And matter of fact, Deathstroke shouldn't be able to actually take out some of them. Like, for example, Starfire. If Deathstroke did go head to head with Starfire, he would have lost that battle. Same for Donna Troy. Same for Cyborg. And so that means that when it came to Deathstroke, he used different methods as a way to catch the Titans by surprise to hopefully take them out, which of course he did. Now, when Dick Grayson gets back to Titan Tower, of course, he comes to find out that Raven also been captured. Now, when it comes to Titan Tower, only two people lived in Titan Tower, Raven and Tara. And so when he gets there, he believes both Raven and Tara have been kidnapped. And of course, he begins to freak out even more because now his entire team has gone missing. And so when Dick Grayson actually gets to the top of Titan Tower, hoping to find more clues to figure out what exactly happened here to Raven and also Tara, well, that is the moment he is confronted by two characters. Now, one we saw earlier and got a name for him, and that is Joseph. The other one is a mysterious lady who's very intrigued in Deathstroke, and we kind of find out her name is Adeline. Now, when it comes to Adeline and also Joseph here, they want to tell Dick Grayson what really happened, because right now it's Dick believing that Deathstroke was able to capture both Tara and Raven. But you then have Adeline say, no, you're actually wrong. Raven did get captured, but Tara did not get captured because Tara is actually working with Deathstroke. She is a traitor. Now, Tara's been around the Titans for a short period of time, but the Titans still look at her as a fellow team member. And so, of course, for Dick Grayson, he's like, no, there's no way you can tell me right now that technically Tara is actually a traitor, like she's one of us. But again, you have Adeline say, no, she's actually a huge traitor. She's working with Deathstroke, and that's how he was able to learn so much about you and the rest of the Titans. And matter of fact, right now, Deathstroke is getting the last team member, which was Beast Boy, because we kind of find out Beast Boy was actually left alone just a tad bit longer than the rest of the Titans, like Cyborg, Starfire, and also Donna Troy. But now, of course, Beast Boy has now been captured by Deathstroke. But this actually makes a lot of sense on why in the world Deathstroke knows so much about the Titans. Yes, he was watching them, but of course, Tara shared very valuable information about what makes them weak and what makes them strong. Now you have Dick Grayson wonder, how in the world does Adeline and Joseph know so much about Deathstroke? Really just Adeline, because Joseph is not speaking right now. And matter of fact, we're going to learn more why he is unable to actually speak. But when it comes to Adeline, she says, the reason why I know so much about him and know what he did to you, because he is my ex-husband. And so the last 2 pages of this book does give us confirmation that Deathstroke is actually working for Hive. Now, the reason why Deathstroke is actually working for Hive is all about the idea of his son Ravager. Because remember, his son Ravager was working for Hive as well, and he took a contract to go after the Titans. Now, once the Titans were able to defeat him, he technically died. Now, the reason why he died because the powers Hive gave Ravager basically killed him off. And so right now it's Deathstroke saying, you guys gave him powers that led to his death. Yes, the Titans fought against him, and that kind of helped lead him to his death. And so don't worry, I'm going to help you guys actually take them down. But then I'm going to come after you as well and take y'all down for giving my son the powers that basically killed him off. Now, Hive has no idea that Deathstroke is actually plotting to killing them. But for right now, they believe they're working together. And Deathstroke is very happy about the idea that at least he was able to capture most of the Titans, just not Dick Grayson. And so when we jump into the 3rd chapter of the book, we actually do pick up right now with Adeline and Joseph trying their best to actually convince Dick Grayson that technically they're on his side, that he can actually trust them, but on top of that, Tara is a traitor, that she has been working with Deathstroke. Now, when it comes to Dick Grayson, he's having a hard time believing that. Now, the reason why he's having a hard time believing that is all about the idea that Adeline is the ex-wife of Deathstroke. But on top of that, Joseph is also the son of Deathstroke as well. And so honestly, when it comes to Dick Grayson, he really feels like Adeline and Joseph could secretly be working for Deathstroke as a way to get him as well with the rest of the Teen Titans. Now that is the moment where you have Dick Grayson realize that Joseph is not talking. Now, that right there is going to be explained in this chapter right here. And the reason why, because you have Adeline say, let me tell you the true origin of Deathstroke. And this was technically the first time DC Comics kind of gave the fans a true picture of the origin of Deathstroke around this time in DC Comics. And so when it comes to Adeline, she basically tells us the origin of Deathstroke. Now, when it comes to this origin story, she actually starts where she first met him at, meaning that we don't learn much about his early days before he joined the military. But she does tell us that apparently by the time she met him, he was already a war hero, that he already fought in the Korean War. But either way, he was a well-known soldier across the military. Now, the way she actually met him is because he came to her camp. And apparently her camp had a different kind of training, meaning that they only take the best soldiers and turn those soldiers into something else, even better. And so, of course, when it came to Deathstroke, Slade Wilson, by that point, he was already a well-known soldier in the military, one of the best. And so it makes sense for him to go over to her camp. Now, she says right off the bat, she fell in love with him. It was love at first sight. But for Deathstroke, it wasn't the same for him. And the reason why, because he looked at her as a higher up. And so, of course, he had to give her respect. Now, with that being said, though, while you have Deathstroke and one of his fellow soldiers right now doing some kind of test run, well, that is the moment he's able to actually accomplish most of the tests until he is actually caught off guard by Adeline, because apparently part of the test was to see how good he is when it comes to different kinds of situation. And so she was actually able to catch him off guard. And with that happening, he technically did fail the test. Technically he failed the last part of the test. Either way, he then realized that maybe he could learn something from her, because he realized she has skills that he did not have. And so that led into the two characters actually training with one another. Now, while the two characters were training with one another, it's also the moment where you have Deathstroke begin to fall in love with her, to the point where he asked her to marry him. And of course, she said yes. Now, when it came to the wedding, there was a tad bit of concerns. And the reason why, because when it came to Deathstroke, he had no friends, he had no family. And so at first, it seemed like this was going to be a one-sided wedding, until that is the moment you have Wintergreen appear to say, "Hey, best friend, I'm back. I heard you're getting married." And we kind of find out that Deathstroke and Wintergreen actually met in the early days of their military careers. And of course, they built a bond with one another. Now, unfortunately, the bond was a tad bit broken. And the reason why, because Wintergreen had to go to a different kind of military mission in Africa. And so they were unable to actually communicate with one another. But Wintergreen got word that apparently Deathstroke is about to get married. And so, of course, he came back to be there for his best friend's wedding. Now, Deathstroke did rejoin the military, but Adeline did not. And the reason why, because she gave birth to their first son, Grant. And remember, Grant becomes Ravager in the present day. But in the present day, though, Grant is actually dead. And Grant is the reason why Deathstroke right now is coming after the Teen Titans. Now, when it comes to Dick Grayson, he wants to know, how in the world did Slade Wilson become Deathstroke? How did he become the super soldier they see right now in DC Comics? And of course, that is the moment you have Adeline say, the reason why he's the way he is right now, all because of some medical experiment. They were trying to find a way to resist the truth serum. Just in case a soldier is captured, they'll be able to actually resist a truth serum and not give up military secrets. The problem was, though, when it came to Deathstroke and he joined this medical experiment, something went wrong. And of course, it put him in a coma. And they were scared with the idea that he may not come out of that coma. But if he does come out of that coma, he could be different in a bad way or a good way. But at the same time, he might also have some issues with his body as well. And so because of that, it really did seem like he was on death's door. Now, he did wake back up, but you didn't have Adeline say he was different. Something about him changed once he was able to wake up from that coma thanks to that medical experiment. And so after he woke up from that coma, you have Deathstroke begin to go through good days and bad days. And what Adeline means by that is, there were good days when he wake up and seemed like his normal self. But then there were bad days where it seemed like he was very suicidal. But on top of that, his body was failing him. His body had a lot of medical problems. Now, technically, it was actually the medical experiment slowly changing his body into the man he'll become today. Either way, that is the moment he got word that Wintergreen got captured. Now, with Wintergreen getting captured, Deathstroke freaked out and he wanted to save his best friend. Now, the military at first said no, but apparently Deathstroke talked to the right guys to give him access to different things to be able to actually save his best friend Wintergreen. Now, of course, while all that was going on, his second son was also born as well. And of course, that would be Joseph. Now, after he came back, Adeline and him were able to get a house. And the reason why, because her family, they had some very good money. And of course, when they passed on, they passed the house over to her and him. But on top of that, when it came to Slade, he was also getting famous as some kind of hunter. He'll go out in the world, hunt different things, different animals, and become famous because of that. Now, this actually leads into the idea of Deathstroke not telling Adeline his secret life. And what I mean by that is, Adeline says after he was able to become this famous hunter, but at the same time save his best friend Wintergreen on that one particular mission, years had passed on, and of course they were a happy couple, and he was a great father. Now, one night they were having some kind of event in their house, except that is the moment you had a bunch of soldiers just rush into the house and begin to shoot up the place. Now, the reason why, because they were actually looking for Deathstroke, but unfortunately he was away. And so of course they grabbed someone that they know that he would care for so much, and that would be Joseph. And he was still a very young boy. And so when he got captured, word got back over to Deathstroke, because Adeline tells him, hey man, a bunch of guys with guns came to our house in the middle of our event and basically kidnapped our son, looking for a guy known as Deathstroke the Terminator. But we have no idea who that guy is, except that is the moment we come to find out, or she comes to find out, he is Deathstroke the Terminator. Meaning that while he was technically being this big hunter, he was also doing some other things on the side. Technically a mercenary, but she had no idea about that. And because of that life, thanks to him, now their son has been kidnapped. Now, he does promise his wife that he'll be able to save their son. But at the same time, though, she's kind of freaking out because her husband is a mercenary and her son might be killed thanks to her husband. And so you do have Adeline actually go with Deathstroke on this mission to basically save their son. Now, when they do arrive, that is the moment she learns that her husband is technically a mercenary. He is Deathstroke the Terminator, but on top of that, he has a lot of enemies. Now, this is also where she actually learns that he has powers, that his body has been enhanced thanks to that medical experiment. Either way, when they do arrive at the location to save their son, it does lead into a huge battle with Deathstroke fighting against the soldiers to hopefully save Joseph. Now, this section right here is also explaining why Joseph cannot speak. And the reason why, because in the middle of the battle, someone was actually holding Joseph hostage by using a knife and pointing that knife near his throat. Now, Deathstroke was able to take the guy down. The problem was, though, the guy still was able to cut a little bit of Joseph's neck and really his throat. Either way, because of that, that is the reason why Joseph is unable to actually speak. And then Adeline apparently tried to kill Deathstroke because she realized that her husband is actually a killer. Now, unfortunately, when she did shoot him in the eye, and of course he lost his eye, but the problem is, though, it didn't kill him and he got away. And so she became a single mother, but one day hoping to actually stop her ex-husband. And so that leads us into the present day. And so when we jump into the present day, it's really more Dick Grayson kind of saying to himself, he does believe in what Adeline and also Joseph is telling him. And so because of that, he believes it's time for him to actually work with them. Now, he does go upstairs to get an outfit. And like I said earlier, this was Dick Grayson leaving behind the Robin role. It was DC trying to bring in Jason Todd, this new Robin. And so, of course, it was time for Dick Grayson to take up a new mantle. And so this is the book where you technically have Dick Grayson come down and say, call me Nightwing. Now, at the same time, you also have Joseph change clothes and you have Joseph say, call me Jericho. And Jericho is going to help Nightwing on this mission to save the other Titans. Now, at first, you have Nightwing say, no, I don't want to bring Jericho on this mission because I have no idea what his powers are. But of course, we kind of find out he has the ability to take over your body. He's able to transfer his body into your body and take over it. And so because of that, it's Dick saying, you know what? That power might come in handy when it comes to rescuing my friends, but also stopping your father. And so now it's time for Nightwing and Jericho to work together to basically stop Hive and Deathstroke, but free the rest of the Teen Titans. And so when we jump into the final chapter of this storyline, it is the longest chapter of the storyline, and the reason why, because when it came to the first 3 chapters, they were technically just regular issues, so a regular amount of pages. But when it came to the last chapter, it was part of an annual, and of course it had extra pages, which of course made this book even longer. But at the same time, it did end the story on a very good high note. Now, with that being said, we actually do pick up right now with the Teen Titans trapped in some kind of machine that was made by Hive. And of course, the heroes cannot break out of that machine. And the reason why, because the machine is right now draining their energy. And the more energy the machine drains, the stronger machine gets, which means that it begins to drain even more energy the stronger it gets. Now, this is actually very huge. And the reason why, because technically the Teen Titans are stuck until Nightwing and Jericho are able to actually save them. Now, of course, that is the moment the Teen Titans find out that, of course, they've been captured by Hive, but of course, Hive had hired the Deathstroke Terminator to basically capture them. Now, this is also the moment where the Titans find out that Tara is a traitor, that Tara is working alongside Deathstroke. And of course, the Teen Titans cannot believe that, which honestly, I don't blame them. But at the same time, it's kind of like, she was really rude to you guys, a lot. I mean, honestly, it was very clear there was some kind of way that y'all should have known this girl is technically not on our side at all. Either way, of course, you have the Titans find out that she is a traitor, and she's also in some kind of weird relationship with Deathstroke. And I say weird again because she's like 15 or 16 and homeboy is clearly 30 or 40 years old. Either way though, you do have the Titans realize they have been betrayed. Now, luckily for the Titans, you do have Nightwing and Jericho on their way. Now, the reason why Nightwing and Jericho were able to actually find the base is because of Adeline. Apparently, she knew where the base actually was. Maybe because she has been following Deathstroke. Either way, she was able to tell Nightwing and also Jericho, if you're going to save the Titans, you need to go there. And so, of course, our heroes do go over there to hopefully save the Titans from Hive and also Deathstroke. Now, getting back over to Deathstroke, you do have Deathstroke right now trying to call up Wintergreen, his best friend. Now, when he does call up Wintergreen, their call is very short, but of course, Wintergreen is not acting normally. Now, of course, you do have Deathstroke realize there could be something wrong with Wintergreen, but at the same time, he's all like, listen, I'm busy right now with Hive, but also with the Titans as well. And so once I'm able to actually wrap this up, I'll go check up on Wintergreen. Now, the reason why Wintergreen was trying to get off that call so quickly is because Adeline is there right now with a gun pointed at Wintergreen, very upset with the idea that Wintergreen did not stop Deathstroke in becoming the person he is today. Now, that is the moment where you actually have Wintergreen explain a little bit more of the origin of Deathstroke, but at the same time explain the relationship between Deathstroke and also Wintergreen, why the two characters are so close to one another. And we kind of find out that apparently there was a point where Wintergreen had actually saved Deathstroke many years ago before Deathstroke had met Adeline. And so because of that, Deathstroke technically owed Wintergreen his life. But let's not forget, many years later, Wintergreen was actually captured. And Adeline said she remembered her husband going on that mission to basically save Wintergreen, but she had no idea why he was so tempted into actually doing that. And the reason why, because Wintergreen had saved Deathstroke before that. And so it was Deathstroke saying, I owe him one, let me go out there and save my best friend, which he honestly did. And so ever since then, the two guys had a very special bond with one another. Now, of course, you also have Wintergreen say, Adeline, because of your love, you were able to kind of tame the mercenary life for Deathstroke, but once you left his side, he became cold. Now I try to step in and give him hope once again, but unfortunately I am not enough. Now you do have Adeline realize that when it comes to Wintergreen, Wintergreen, he really does love Deathstroke. Now, the word love could mean anything. It could be like, hey, he loves him as a brother, or he loves him in a way where it's kind of like, yeah, he really does love Deathstroke. But the thing is, the way the story goes, we don't actually find out if he does love Deathstroke in that kind of way or in a brother kind of way. Either way, though, is Adeline finally understanding why Wintergreen and Deathstroke are so close to one another. But then we jump back over to Jericho and Nightwing. Now, when we do, you do have the two characters right now technically breaking into the Hive base. Now, the way they're able to actually do this is a combination of the powers of Jericho, but at the same time them grabbing some clothes to appear that they are Hive members to move around the base more freely, but at the same time not to blow their cover, and hopefully find the Titans and release them. Now here comes the problem though, because that is the moment where we actually do learn a tad bit more about the powers of Jericho. Because remember, he's able to transfer his body into your body and control your body. But we kind of find out there is a time limit that technically the person could fight for control of their body and push Jericho out of their body, which means that sooner or later the guard that Jericho has taken over could sooner or later push Jericho out, which honestly he does. Now, it does lead into the guards freaking out and try capturing Nightwing and Jericho, but of course that is the moment Tara jumps in. Now when Tara jumps in, this is Nightwing's confirmation that basically she is a traitor, that she is working for Deathstroke, but at the same time also working for Hive on this contract. Either way, you actually have Tara be able to take out Nightwing and also take out Jericho. Now, right after that, you didn't have Hive and Tara actually call up Deathstroke and say, hey, we got some great news for you. You should probably go ahead and come back down to the main hall. Now, of course, when Deathstroke walks in, he can't believe the idea that Tara and Hive were able to actually capture Dick Grayson, Nightwing. Now, of course, he's kind of like, you know what? It would make sense because he did come here. There's more of y'all than him, and so it makes sense that y'all would be able to actually capture him. But then he sees Jericho, and that is the moment where you have Deathstroke realize, oh my god, you have my son. Now, Tara realized that Deathstroke is acting a tad bit weird. And the reason why, because, of course, this is his son, which means that his son is actually helping out the Titans. And he cannot believe that at all. But at the same time, at this point in DC Comics, he only knows he has 2 kids, and one is dead right now. And so this is the last living child he has. And so, of course, he is very concerned about the idea of losing his last and only child. And so with that being said, he is freaking out. But Tara realized why he is freaking out, because she saw photos of Joseph, of Jericho, and she realized this is his son. And when it comes to Tara, she hates the idea of this man loving his old family, that all his love should be pointed to her, and that is it, not his son nor his ex-wife. Now that is the moment you actually have Jericho be able to take over the body of Deathstroke. And this actually leads into one heck of a crazy battle. And what I mean by that is you do have Jericho being able to actually take over the body of Deathstroke. Now, when he does that, of course, it begins a battle between Deathstroke's body being controlled by Jericho against the Hive members, but also Terra as well. And of course, Nightwing does get free as well. And so with Nightwing being free and also Jericho taking over his father's body, while the battle goes on, of course, the machine that's holding the rest of the Titans break down. And so the rest of the Titans have also been broken free. And so right now it is technically a free-for-all. It's a heck huge of a battle right now that we are actually seeing. Now, with that being said, Terra is going to be the main problem of this battle. And the reason why, because of Deathstroke. And what I mean by that is, when it comes to Terra, she feels betrayed in the idea that Deathstroke still cares for his son. But on top of that, he cares for his son more than he cares for her. And she hates that idea right there. Because remember, when it comes to Terra, technically she had a rough life. She never had anybody actually love her. And so, of course, when it comes to Deathstroke showing her just a tad bit of love, she clinged onto that so quickly, so easily. And she doesn't want to let it go, and she doesn't want to share that love. And so, of course, she's right now just full of hatred. Now, Raven says that is her problem right there. Her body is full of hatred, and she never been able to actually work through all the hatred in her body. And so, of course, when something doesn't go her way, that hatred comes out and takes over her body, her mind. She begins to not think straight. And so because of that, her powers begin to go crazy. She's basically causing an earthquake right now in this base. And so while the battle goes on, you have the Titans freaking out because the building is actually coming down. Deathstroke is trying to get away. The Titans are trying to help Terra. Beast Boy, man, Beast Boy, I feel bad for him because even in this moment, Beast Boy still believes in Terra. He believes that she can be a good guy, that she can be turned around and still help out the Titans down the road. But the problem is, though, she is full of hatred. And so, of course, she tells Beast Boy, everything that happened between us was a lie. I never did care for you. There was no love. It was all fake. And of course, for Beast Boy, that breaks his heart. Literally breaks his heart. And so that is the moment you have Beast Boy actually watch Terra die. The entire Titans watch her die because with her causing that earthquake, the entire building just collapses on top of her and the Titans, but mostly on her. And so, of course, Terra is dead, just like that. Now, the last couple pages is technically the funeral for Terra. Now, this is actually a very hard moment. Even though it is the ending, you do have the Titans crying over the idea that Terra died, because even though she was a traitor, she was still one of them. Now, on top of that, Geoforce is there, her brother, and of course they cannot tell her brother that basically she was a traitor, and so they lied to him saying, your sister died as a hero fighting against Deathstroke, but in reality she died as a bad guy trying to kill us. Well, hey, we'll tell you a lie to make you feel better. But then you have Jericho join the Teen Titans at the end of the book. Honestly, his mom says you should join them. They're good for you. And of course, Jericho does. But that actually ends the Judas Contract. It is one heck of a story. It's pretty good. I mean, there's some things that did bother me, but at the same time, it's still a great story. And matter of fact, I kind of see why a lot of fans do love this book, because honestly, this was a great story for its time. But either way, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.